Is made in Washington because only Washington can create money. And any other attribution to other groups of inflation is wrong. Consumers don't produce it. Producers don't produce it. The trade unions don't produce it. Foreign sheiks don't produce it. Oil imports don't produce it. What produces it is too much government spending and too much government creation of money and nothing else.
Most baby boomers are facing homelessness, and I don't care. So the wealthiest generation in the history of the world, wealthier than people that lived during the heights of the Roman Empire who did not have to work, are now facing homelessness. They are the fastest group of people becoming homeless in the United States and in many Western and Westernized countries. And it really should shock no one based on the decisions that the boomers have made. Today's videos come from the George Kamel channel and the Vincent Chan channel. Their channels will be linked in the description of the video so that you can go check them out and support their work. Watch to the end of the video to fully understand the implications of so many boomers becoming homeless and why society will likely not do anything to truly help them beyond allowing them to keep their stolen social securities. Don't forget to follow us over on Rumble. You never really know what can happen on this platform, so go ahead and follow us over there. And now let's just go ahead and jump right into the video after a message from Angry's Crypto Academy.
3 million baby boomers in the US, and they can all retire by 2030. But at the same time, 45% of baby boomers have no retirement savings, and they are now the fastest growing generation to become homeless. So if everyone is saying baby boomers are the wealthiest generation, what's going on? What happened to all their money? Chances are, when you think of retirement, you see yourself sipping spicy margaritas in Costa Rica or cruising down the Miami freeway counting your money. All thanks to the three-legged stool. In finance, the stool basically represents the 3 most common ways retirees receive income in their twilight years. The only problem is, the 3 legs are starting to get wobbly. Firstly, there's savings to think about. After working for 46 years, you're expected to have a sizable nest egg saved up from which you can slowly withdraw from after you stop working. The problem is, the average baby boomer isn't prepared. 45% of baby boomers have no retirement savings. And out of those who do, 28% have less than $100,000 saved. Now, $100,000 might sound like a lot of money, but on average, people older than 65 spend about $52,000 a year to live. There's rising medical expenses, delicious sugar-free applesauce, and Billy Joel concert tickets.
So the reality is that many of the boomers are now facing homelessness, and there is no way around it. You know, the oldest of the boomers are now pushing 80. In fact, the boomer generation starts in 1946, right after the end of WW2. And as a result, they lived through the best economy, and they were given everything. They took everything, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and they did it for 70 years. And now they are basically in old age, and they're trying to hold on to to everything that they possibly can that they've stolen from future generations. But even that is beginning to slip away from them. Most of the boomers will definitely not make it through retirement without extraordinary government intervention and excessive amounts of spending. And this would likely have to be done on many social levels. This means that the state would have to increase social security benefits extraordinarily, meaning that the average boomer would need to get back maybe double what they're currently getting, if not triple that. And there would have to be a lot of changes made to address things like food issues and so many other factors. And this all happened because of the poor decisions that the boomers made. And then the boomers will tell you that this happened through no fault of their own. You know, they are victims of a situation and they'll blame everyone else. This was a comment regarding what we're discussing here in one of my videos from a boomer. He says, I've got to correct you, Angry. The people who have wrecked our country are the money changers, the bankers, the boomers, which I am one, have lived through the best years this country had to offer, but the struggles were real. So he immediately admits they lived through the best years that the country had to offer, and yet they struggled. Do you understand that? Everyone goes through struggles, but they did not make the best of the opportunities that they had. My story will prove your claim wrong, and upon further investigation, you'll come to understand that those with dual citizenship are at the core of the deceptive corruption and bribery in our land. They don't like us and this country. So I don't know if I'm guessing he may be trying to, coyly signal that it's someone else. I'm not going to say specifically who, but I mean, if you look at what they're doing, they blame everyone else for the decisions that they made. They voted for these policies. They voted to keep on borrowing from the future. They voted to keep on printing money. They're the ones who did this. They're the ones who created all of the inflation. You saw the video I showed you early at the beginning of this video where, Milton Friedman, the greatest economist to ever live, arguably said that inflation is created in Washington. It's created when the government just keeps on printing more and more money. Okay, it was created and manufactured by the boomers for the boomers without a care in the world. This is why they keep all of their assets in things like real estate and stocks, things that actually have tangible value, because they know that they're destroying the value of cash. Inflation is nothing more than hidden taxation. The taxes that we pay, it's just an illusion. It's an illusion so that we don't literally freak out realizing that they're stealing from us each and every single year with inflation. Okay, the more in the high, this is how the government pays its bills. The IRS serves nothing more than enforcing the idea that we are actually funding the government when we're not. Okay, we're not funding the government. Printing paper money, printing money funds the government. Okay, and how do they continue to maintain the illusion? Simple. They create bonds. And they sell, treasury bonds, and then they sell these bonds overseas, and then they basically say, well, if you buy our treasury bonds, we'll give you interest, and then when the bond matures, you can get all of your money back. The reality is that they're just printing money endlessly to fund their WARSs and their excessive overspending. So while we're all getting screwed, they're living the high life. Look at USAID, what these people have been doing. They're not just stealing from us, they're stealing from the rest of the world as well. Because when they're printing these bonds, they're selling these treasury bonds that are basically the what's used to give the money that we spend value, which is crap. Okay, they then continue kicking up inflation endlessly, and when they and because they need inflation to lower the value of the debt so that they can then pay the interest on the debt. And when they do this, it results in the value of the debt going down, so the value of the bonds go down, so the interest that they're paying on the debt, to other countries, is no longer of real value. So these countries can end up losing a lot of money by holding these junk American bonds. But of course, by maintaining the illusion and keeping the US dollar as the reserve currency of the world, they're able to continue this scheme and continue this scam that they've been playing on all of us and the global economy as a whole. So, I mean, look at this joker boomer. They control the currency at the moment, but the fiat fiasco is coming to an end. Your crypto plan is spot on. Check out some PMs too. Peace. Guys, that's why I told you need to jump into crypto rapidly, because the boomers know that their little scheme is crashing down. It's crashing and burning, and cash is dying out. We're moving over to a crypto system. The reason why crypto is so important is because it's trustless. It's a trustless economy where you no longer have to trust the other person to be honest. Okay, every transaction is validated and stored on a digital ledger, and it's verified. It's verified over and over and over to ensure that it's valid. Okay, it's not just one person validating a transaction; it's lots of people validating these transactions. All right, it has to go through multiple validation processes to ensure that there's no foolery going on. So we're transitioning away from a cash society to a crypto society, where everything has to be accounted for, and you cannot endlessly print money anymore. And the boomers, they instinctively know what's going on because they've never, even though they say cash is king, they've never truly trusted cash. If the boomers actually trusted cash, they would have tons of it on hand at all times. They don't. The boomers keep most of their money in the stock market and in real estate and intangible things. And then they spend whatever cash they have as quickly as they can before the value of it declines. That's the scheme. That's the scam of the baby boomers. This is one of the reasons why I keep on telling you guys to learn crypto, get involved in crypto as quickly as possible, because the economy around us is going to hell in a handbasket, all right? Hard times have arrived. ATMs are going to stop working. The banks are going to chain up the doors as soon as the next major crisis hits. And we're heading in that direction right now because with what Elon is doing, he's revealing just how we've been getting screwed. And when everyone realizes, yeah, America really does not have any money, the floor is going to fall out, and the only people who are going to have any wealth are going to be those holding crypto. So guys, protect your wealth and safeguard your future with crypto. Anger's Crypto Academy teaches you how to buy, sell, trade, and invest in crypto, and will tell you exactly which coins will mint you millionaires and how to spot potential coins to invest in. So don't miss out on the opportunity. We actually have a massive sale still going on in the academy for you guys right now. Okay, it actually ends it ends very, very soon. It's an encore to our Super Bowl sale. It was really positive. A lot of people enjoyed that. So go and check it out. This is the largest sale we've ever done. It ends in a couple of hours. Go check that out. It's linked in the description of the video. My gosh, I tell you, the boomers.
You don't have to be a math whiz to realize the average baby boomer will burn through their savings sooner rather than later. And it's already happening. Baby boomers are now the fastest growing generation to experience homelessness. In the 1990s, 11% of the homeless population were 50 and older. Today, that number is nearly 50%. Many baby boomers across the country are now coming to terms with the reality that working your entire adult life is no longer enough to guarantee that you'll have a roof over your head in your later years. So we know the savings leg can't be relied on. What about the other two? But first, if you want to easily save more money, then you have to use a savings goal tracker and checklist. I'm giving away mine for free, link down below. During the Great Depression, many working families lost their jobs. Businesses collapsed, people starved, and food rations became the norm. One of the groups hit the hardest were older Americans, who despite working for 46 years of their lives, now lived in poverty. In response, President Roosevelt passed the Social Security Act in 1935 to provide a financial safety net for retirees. Basically, retirees received monthly checks from the government to spend on essentials. But Social Security wasn't free. The government designed it as a pay-as-you-go program. They added a new tax for those currently working. From every paycheck, a bit of money was deducted and put into the Social Security Trust Fund. In return, current workers were promised that they would receive monthly checks from the fund after they retire. And it worked. After committing decades of their lives to the workforce, retired older Americans could now enjoy some leisure without constantly worrying about finances. Not surprisingly, the poverty rate among elderly households fell from 35% in 1959 to 11% in 1995. Now, Social Security is the #1 source of income security for retirees, with over 90% of retirees receiving Social Security benefits. But all of that is about to change. Remember the little promise the government made? Current workers were promised that they would receive monthly checks from the fund after they retire. In the 1980s, President Reagan began to take money from the Social Security Fund and spent it on other stuff. Wars, tax cuts for the rich, and other government programs. President Bush and Clinton followed suit. In place of the trillions of Social Security funding they all took, they just put in an IOU, a piece of paper that promises the US government would eventually pay the money back. The problem is, they never really did. The Social Security Fund has been cash flow negative since 2010, meaning more money is going out than coming in. For a long period of time, baby boomers were the largest generation in the US. During their working years, they contribute a lot of money to the fund for the silent generation to draw from. And now that the largest generation is retiring en masse, they're starting to get some of that money back. The problem is, there's now fewer workers paying into the system. It's projected that the Social Security Reserve Fund is going to run out by 2034, meaning all new benefits will come directly from current payroll taxes. But taxes would only cover 77% of their promised full benefits. You can think of it like this. If you were promised a $1,000 Social Security check every month, now you would only receive $770. As the cost of everyday items increase, a 20% pay cut is pretty significant.
Now, I want you guys to consider something very carefully. The economy is not really growing. The economy is getting smaller. Gen Z, there's no future for these kids. All right, most employers are not hiring them, and then there are just not as many opportunities today as they were in the past. Any jobs that exist in the economy right now are being snatched up very quickly. I mean, DoorDash and these types of delivery jobs, that's what a lot of people are now moving towards, because even the average job is not paying well. Okay, it's not sufficient to provide a person with a quality life. So keep in mind that AI, there's a thing called the AI agent. The AI agent is basically, it's a type of AI bot. You can think of it kind of like that can do pretty much everything. It can code for if you have a company where you need coders, it can basically write an entire application for you. It can, if you need graphic designers, it can design all of your graphics. If you need customer service agents, I'm not making this stuff up. If you need customer service agents to take phone calls and talk to customers and address issues, it can talk to your customers. It can speak to your customers. It can address the issues. If you ever use ChatGPT has a voice mode where you can actually talk back and forth with the AI, and you can choose a different voice. And you can have, and it's pretty far along to the point where you can have a pretty natural conversation with it. Sometimes you just have to kind of work on the pauses, and it works out overall. Do you really think that they're going to continue paying people even $1 an hour? Companies are going to continue paying people, even in a country, even in like the Philippines, $1 an hour, when they have a chatbot that can do the exact same thing for free and work 24 hours a day, no sleep, and it costs virtually next to nothing to run it and operate it compared to an employee? They're going to replace all of these people with these devices. Any job that a machine can do, and it's so many, you guys don't realize it, those jobs are going to be replaced. Are going to replace people. Are going to replace people. So the economy is going to crash much faster than we realize. Someone coined the term the Greater Depression. That's what we're heading for, the Greater Depression. And as a result of that, you're going to see even more boomers rushing for retirement, trying to clean out the Social Security fund. To make matters worse, because many of them also have 401k, they're going to have to start drawing from those 401k plans very soon because they are required to by law, evidently. So we're going to watch where's a lot of the 401k money? Oh, it's in the stock markets. And who owns 80% of the stock markets? Oh, the boomers do. Do you see where I'm going with this, guys? So as everything begins crashing down, as the boomers begin pulling money out of the stock markets, as the boomers begin pulling money out of Social Security, it's going, and keep in mind, the boomers are already almost half of every tax dollar is already going towards subsidizing the living of the boomers. As the boomers go wild and begin scraping whatever they can from the economy, it's, how do you think that's going to affect everyone else? It's only going to further exacerbate the problem. It's only going to further push up inflation, as now the government has to increase spending. It's only going to make matters a lot worse, and it's going to tie up capital, because it's going to dry up capital in the economy as well. We're now basically a nation of renters. Like, this is exactly where we are going, and we're pretty much there already. The average person cannot afford a home, but ultimately we're now going to be a 100% nation of renters, where the concept of owning a home is completely distant. You will never own a home. No one will own a home. It will basically be about renting a home from some investment firm. Some, like basically, that are property management. a property management company that's that has properties from a bank, you know, because these boomers, they have so much, they basically kept on running up the value of the properties, through refinancing and stealing from us using inflation. And now these properties cost way more than they're actually worth, and the average person cannot afford one. And the banks are not going to sell them at a massive loss. So of course, one way or another, they're going to have to get into the business of renting, even if it's not directly in and of itself. They'll come up with some scheme to offload these properties to management firms and then get their money back there that way. Okay, or companies that literally center around managing these properties and selling shares in this scheme, so that people will be trapped into a cycle of spending every nickel and dime that they have for rent. This is why America is quickly transforming into nothing more. It's already a corporation, but 100% a corporation where it's not a place to live; it's a place to work and leave. I predicted this. Don't forget, I predicted that in the near future, people will only come to the United States. People from the United States will only work here. They'll sleep in their cars, sleep in an RV or whatever. Hell, sleeping in a tent somewhere or in the parking lots of their jobs. They will only be here to work, and then they will leave and fly to another country, fly to Mexico, fly to the Dominican Republic, fly to another country, and work like that. Because all of these companies that are demanding people return to the office, they're demanding people return to the office, and yet they're not admitting that things now cost 5 times more than it did, back in 2020, before 2020, back in 2019. Things now cost 5 times more than it did. And if you look at the items, the cost of some things, if we go back to like 2013, 2012, 2013, something like a burger from McDonald's, a double cheeseburger, you can get them for $1.25. All right, about $1. Or a McDonald or a McDouble, about $1. How much do they cost now? $7, $8, depending on where you buy them. This is insane. So now anywhere from 5 to 8 times, what it used to cost. And keep in mind, wages have not kept up. So we're practically making the same amount of money that we were making, 10 to 15 years ago, or even more than 15 years ago, but we haven't gotten any, but everything now costs significantly more. Guys, the boomers have robbed us. And as you can see now, with crypto ETFs coming, they know that they know what they've done. They deliberately didn't teach us anything about finance either, because they were robbing us blind. So they wanted to keep us dumb, just smart enough to work and get the job done, but not smart enough to realize how badly we were being screwed over by them. So of course, a lot of these greedy individuals are now going to try to rush into crypto, because crypto is a new ocean. So they're going to try to rush into crypto and buy up as much crypto as they can, especially using ETFs, which I've talked about, spot ETFs, where basically they can get exposure to crypto using stock exchange, because ETFs are traded directly on stock exchanges. So they're going to rush in there and start buying those up, and people who hold crypto today are going to be the ones who win, which is why I keep telling you guys, invest in crypto as quickly as you can. That is going to be your safety net to survive in the hell on earth that is here. But most people are completely asleep right now. Let me ask you something. When the banks collapse, and trust me, it's coming, will you be ready? Imagine waking up to ATMs that don't work, bank doors chained shut, and millions of people left with nothing. No cash, no access to their savings, and no way to survive. But it doesn't have to be that way for you. That's why I created Angry's Crypto Academy, to teach you everything you need to know about crypto, so you can protect yourself and your family. You'll learn how to buy, sell, and even day trade crypto for a living. Plus, we alert you to new crypto trends, so you can profit before everyone else even knows what's happening. Right now, I've just published an exclusive investment guide inside the Academy. and it's linked in the description below. In it, I reveal the one coin that could make you a millionaire. A coin so revolutionary, it could change everything. If you missed out on Bitcoin and Ethereum, this is your second chance. This isn't just about financial freedom, it's about survival. When the system collapses and everyone else is selling, you'll be the one buying, prepared to weather the storm and thrive while others struggle to survive. Don't wait. This knowledge isn't optional, it's critical. The link's in the description. Go check it out now.
Eye on one thing and one thing only, how much government is spending. Because that's the true tax. Every budget is balanced. There is no such thing as an unbalanced federal budget. You're paying for it. If you're not paying for it through it in the form of explicit taxes, you're paying for it indirectly in the form of inflation or in the form of borrowing. The thing you should keep your eye on is what government spends. And the real problem is to hold down government spending as a fraction of our income. And if you do that, you can stop worrying about the debt.
The problem is many Americans believe the 2034 year forecast is guaranteed, but it isn't. It's a warning about what will happen in a good economy. It doesn't really account for the unknown and uncertainty of what could happen during a bad one. Since 2019, the size of the gap between what Social Security has promised and what it expects to pay has grown by nearly $10 trillion, more than 40%. For every $1 that the program has collected in payroll taxes, it has generated roughly $2 of promises that no one expects it to keep. But what about the third leg that baby boomers can hopefully rely on? Prior to the 1980s, pensions were the mainstream private option for retirement income. Basically, companies would set aside money for their employees, invest that money for them, and then these employees would be guaranteed payouts after they retire. It was a time when company loyalty actually meant something. The more you worked there, the more money you received in your payout. But then Ted Benna changed everything. He believed pension plans were too expensive and too risky for companies, and so he did something about it. Enter the 401k plan, a much worse retirement option in literally every single way, where you now set your money aside, you pick the investments, and if you don't do this, then too bad, so sad. Companies love this alternative. It was a lot less work and a lot less risk for them, so many stopped offering pension plans and migrated to 401k plans instead, shifting the cost of retirement from the employer to the employee. And the timing was perfect. There were two stock market booms in the 1980s and the 1990s, which easily convinced workers that investing in your own 401k was the better move. From 1980 to 2008, participation in pension plans fell from 38% to 20%, while participation in plans like the 401k increased from 8% to 31%. The problem is, a whole new generation of people who never invested before were now chasing the bull market with the nest egg they needed to retire. Steve Sholo and Dan Robertson were two public school teachers who didn't know much about finance, but they saw everyone else was raving about the 401ks, so they decided to join in. By 1996, they had doubled their retirement nest egg to $500,000. By 1999, their portfolio topped $1 million. And they were thrilled. They thought they made the best decisions of their lives. But by the early 2000s, the dot-com bubble burst, and Sholo and Robertson saw their fortune crater from $1.5 million down to $500,000. Tens of thousands of people who had been on the verge of retirement were now forced back to work because they lost everything. But the problems didn't stop there. Whenever money and investing is involved, you can bet Wall Street finds an opportunity to profit. This is Robert Hilton Smith, an economist who regularly contributed to his 401k plan, who one day noticed something was off about his account. Despite the market doing relatively well, his 401k investment account was barely increasing. After digging for days and weeks, he finally saw where his money was going. The plan itself was invested into more than 20 different mutual funds, each of which had its own costs and fees. There's asset management fees, trading fees, marketing fees, record-keeping fees, administrative fees, fees for not knowing there were fees. A 2 to 3% fee might seem inconsequential, but it's not. Just as investing your money allows you to compound and increase your wealth in the long term, cost and fees also rise exponentially over time. Suppose you have an investment portfolio worth $60,000. You plan to contribute $500 a month to it for the next 25 years, and it grows at an average rate of 8% per year. At the end, you'd have $884,635 in your portfolio. That's a lot of money. But if you had a 2% fee, you'd be left with only $606,450. That tiny 2% fee costs you $278,000. In 2012, Hilton Smith reported that on average, an American family will pay nearly $155,000 in 401k fees to Wall Street over their lifetime. But that's not even the worst of it. The idea behind these high fees is that when it comes to mutual funds in your 401k, a professional is helping you invest your money to beat the stock market. The problem is, about 51% of actively managed funds fail to do so. You're actually statistically better off hiring this cat, Orlando. In 2013, Orlando outperformed experienced and qualified wealth managers at picking stocks. And the best part? Orlando doesn't require any hidden fees. Just a can of tuna once in a while. About 12,000 people will turn 65 every single day in 2024. The problem is, their 401k plans are being wiped out. Fidelity found that the average 401k balance fell by 23% in Q3 of 2023, and many are expecting the stock market to get even worse. According to McKinsey, Americans are living longer than ever thanks to better working conditions and healthcare innovations. Life expectancy has nearly doubled since the late 1890s, which is great. We all have more time to spend with our parents and grandparents. The only problem is, it now takes a lot more money to retire than what we, our government, and economy originally anticipated. In economics, they call this the old age dependency ratio. Basically, it's the number of individuals older than 65 per 100 people of working age. The higher the ratio, the greater the burden on the current workforce and overall economy to support and provide for the retirees. Government services and programs will be stretched, taxes will need to be increased on the working population to support the increased expenses, and potential pressure to increase the retirement age for future generations. The average old age dependency ratio across OECD countries like the UK, Australia, and Germany is 28, meaning for every 100 working age people, there are 28 individuals who are 65 years or older. The problem is, this ratio is projected to hit 50% in the US by 2075. As housing, education, childcare, and food prices continue to climb, many Americans are struggling to make ends meet. As a result, more and more of the younger generation are refusing to have kids. If you think about it, our entire social and economic structures have the same issues as a Ponzi scheme. If the next generation isn't bigger than the last, it impacts almost everything. Naturally, as you get older and retire, expenses go down. No more overpriced drinks at the bar or buying the latest tech gadgets. But there is one expense that will go up without fail. One particular crisis that baby boomers will have to face head on. A 2017 research study found that a healthy 65-year-old couple retiring will need to spend $275,000 to cover their healthcare costs in retirement. Doctor visits, 20 different pills, and stress balls. 70% of baby boomers will need some form of long-term care, assisted living, hospice care, or nursing homes. The problem is, the average cost of a nursing home is between $7,908 and $9,034 per month. So where are baby boomers expected to get this kind of money from? Most don't have enough in savings, Social Security will be cut, and 401k plans are crashing. But if you want to quickly save more money, using a savings goal tracker and checklist is the most effective way to do that. Get mine for free, link down below. You might think one option is Medicare, basically federal health insurance for people over 65. It's more affordable than private insurance. The problem is, Medicare doesn't cover long-term care. So the other option is Medicaid, basically health insurance for low-income Americans. But to be eligible for Medicaid, you need to be at or below 133% of the federal poverty level, meaning most middle-class baby boomers will be in between being too poor to afford the care they need and too rich to qualify for Medicaid. But even if they're able to get long-term care, there's still one more problem. Getting into a nursing home is more challenging than ever. Nursing homes are experiencing staffing shortages, overcrowding issues, and many are actually operating at a loss. As a result, more than 1,000 nursing homes have closed since 2015, and more are on their way out. But there might be one last saving grace for baby boomers who still have a decent life into their twilight years: their children. The problem is, millennials are in a tough spot themselves. Housing affordability, stagnating wages, and a looming debt crisis. Many won't be able to get time off work to provide the complex, ongoing assistance their parents might require. And they can't afford to quit because households can no longer support themselves with a single income. Some millennials will be forced to take reduced hours or look for a job with more flexibility, potentially resulting in lower pay, meaning they'll be in a tough spot of having to choose between caring for their aging relatives and their own financial survival. For me personally, family comes before everything else. But for many millennials, they'll need to determine if they themselves will have enough money when they retire. A 2006 research study found that when family members over 50 take on unpaid caregiving roles, they'll lose on average over $300,000 in lost income and benefits, which is a substantial amount. But it's more than just money. There's the mental, physical, and emotional exhaustion that you will undoubtedly experience. And what's even more terrible can only be summarized by this post. You end up in a strange dynamic, where you wish for the day when you don't have to deal with the daily caregiving stressors, and then you realize that you are longing for the death of your parents, which is a strange and terrible place to be. But what if I told you that the baby boomer crisis should be the least of your worries? What most people don't realize is that something weird is happening to your job.
Now, he's making a good point. As you can see, he mentioned something weird is happening to our jobs. All right. We are basically being screwed out of the economy. And all of this is because of the baby boomers and very, very bad decisions that were made. Guys, the boomers, after they've spent everything, will then turn around and say, we raised you, now you need to take care of us. The same people that threw us out at 18 or before that are now telling us that we need to let them into our homes and subsidize their living. All right. And then they'll call it kindness. Now, basically, the way the boomers were working before is like they would argue with you, they'd get defensive, they'd get vile. But now guys like me are saying, you're bad people. You're crooks, you're criminals, you've stolen our futures, and we're not going to tolerate anymore. So now their next strategy will be to cry on you. Cry baby boomers. Cry baby boomers. That's really it. Because after they've done all of this bad, and I'm going to tell you something about the boomers I've realized. Guys, they can't stop nothing. No matter what they do, no matter what happens, they can never admit that they're wrong. Very few boomers will ever admit that they're wrong. It is a narcissistic trait that they have. A terrible narcissistic trait. And guys, to be clear, when all of these jobs are vanishing, the smartest thing you can do is to protect yourself with crypto and also learn how to do crypto day trading. We actually have the crypto day trading blueprint for dummies in the crypto day trading for dummies blueprint in the academy. And we teach you how to do how to use simple strategies to make hundreds of dollars a day while just working only an hour a day doing trading. And it's a survival skill every single one of you guys should be learning. I just want to tell you a little bit about the crypto trading for dummies blueprint. With this blueprint, you'll learn how crypto day trading can help you earn daily profits, even starting small. Imagine making $30 a day with $100 or even hundreds daily trading small amounts. Working just an hour a day. It's written so simply that even a fifth grader can do it. With banks collapsing and the economy in chaos, this skill is your lifeline. Click the link in the description to check it out now. I mean, guys, the boomers did it to themselves. The boomers created this miserable system, and now they're going to have to deal with it. They're going to have to deal with the consequences of what they've done, and they don't want to. Okay? Nothing lasts forever, and their tyranny would not last forever, although it will have long-term consequences for the future. Gen Z has already given up. Society has already given up on them, and they've already given up on society as well as themselves. Okay? I told you that they're nothing more than a future generation of squatters and thieves. Okay? because they have nothing else going for them. All right, many if not most Gen Zers will spend the majority of their lives in and out of incarceration, and when it comes to Gen Alpha, many if not most Gen Alphas will spend the majority of their lives in incarceration. There is no hope for these bad muffins. You know, Gen Z, the boomers were a group of bad apples. Gen Z are a group of bad muffins, and Gen Alpha is just straight up cooked. Let me know your thoughts regarding all of this. You know, most baby boomers are facing homelessness, and I don't care. They brought it onto themselves, and I will not do it. I will not lift a finger in regards to this situation. All right. Let me know. Do you plan to bail your parents out? All right. I want to know what you guys think. Of course, they're going to be crying in the comments. Let them cry in the comments. Let them gaslight in the comments. I don't care. Let me know what you guys think. We'll talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWM and walking away. And share.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.